Hey friends, Pockets here, and welcome to the channel. If you're anything like me, you're probably falling down the flesh and blood rabbit hole. And honestly, I have zero regrets. Today I'm doing something a little different, something close to my heart. Collecting is more than just acquiring cards, it's about the stories, the memories, and sometimes the beautiful cardboard crack that makes your wallet cry but your soul sing. So today for Collector's Week, I'm sharing my top 10 favorite collectibles from my flesh and blood collection. These aren't just value, though some are definitely spicy, but about what they mean to me. Some have history, some have heart, and some are just plain awesome. At number 10, we have the Welcome to Wraith Alpha Cold Foil Iron Rot Helm. A throwback to the early days of Wraith, this card reminds me of where it all started, where heroes were simpler and life was just about blocking two with a big dream. Iron Rot Helm is gone down significantly in value when it comes to monetary value. I think it's because the market has changed from a collector's market to a player's market, especially since the passing of the 50th anniversary last year. But this specific piece is definitely something that I enjoy. I got this in a recent collection, and this is just a piece of history that's always going to exist in Flesh and Blood. It is my favorite piece of the four of the Iron Rod equipment. Even though it's never going to see play, this is definitely a piece of history that I am very happy to keep within my private collection, and this easily makes it into the top 10 of my list at number 10. At number 9, we have the Rudy exclusive Cold Foil Diamond. It's literally a diamond. It's unplayable until LSS decides to include diamonds in the game, which I don't see that happening. It is a free draw. It is a unplayable card. It is just for collecting purposes. But Rudy from Alpha Investments is a person that I watch frequently throughout my Magic the Gathering days, and I still watch him today. He's definitely a character, and he's definitely a well-known individual in the trading card game community, and knowing that he had this exclusive diamond that was with his Rudy hero along with his diamond hands glove. This is just a simple, very gorgeous piece from his Rudy exclusive promo, and this easily makes it into number 9 of my private collection. At number 8, we have Professor Teklovasan with the unique art from the Round the Table. This one's all about fun and flavor. Professor Teklovasan from the Round the Table is one of the most unique heroes in the game, and even cooler, he was brought to life through a collaboration with LSS and the Professor from Tolarian Community College, for those who are familiar with Magic the Gathering. Yep, that's him in the artwork. A legendary creator brought to life in Flesh and Blood. That's the kind of love letter to the community that makes this card so special. It's playful, smart, and totally one of a kind. And that easily makes number 8 in my list. At number 7, we have our first signed card. We have Rotten Remains signed by Marco Gonzalez. This is a piece of art that is generally beautiful, and I love the dark design of this. I actually got this one signed by Marco himself at the Calling Memphis. It's dark, it's gorgeous, and it's just so Flesh and Blood. It is very, very Flesh and Blood. The design, the visual of what I see in most traditional Flesh and Blood cards. And it's always a card that I always hold close in my heart, because this was a card I was able to not only get it signed, but to meet the artist in person. And this would easily be higher, but unfortunately we have a lot more cards higher in the list, so for right now, this is going to make number 7. At number 6, this is actually going to be a 2-card number 6, only because there's a short story that goes with it. We have both the Unlimited Heart of Fiandal with the Unlimited Fiandal Spring Tunic. For those that know, I do tend to buy large collections, and I usually will open them on stream. So my very, very first stream on my first big purchase, I think I purchased like 20 cases of random product. And in those 20 cases, there were 3 cases of WTR Unlimited. Within those 3 cases, I opened up a single case which probably had some of the biggest pulls I've ever had during that time. I was able to open up both of these exact same cards with the Fiandal Spring Tunic and the Heart of Fiandal live on that very first live stream opening. Not only these, probably some of the most iconic cards, especially with the Fiandal Spring Tunic, but with the Hard Fiandal being the very first Fabled in Flesh and Blood, this is a symbolic door of me getting into Flesh and Blood, and while being able to retain and show the history of Flesh and Blood. And for that, both of these cards fit number 6. At number 5, we have the Marvel Chi. There's something incredibly powerful and peaceful about this one. It's not just the Marvel, it's the moment frozen in cardboard. This was the set that was during the 5th year anniversary in Osaka, Japan. This set is what brought the Japanese community into Flesh and Blood, with probably some of the most beautiful Marvels I've seen to date. Personally, I think they're better than the Dragons and the Angels. You can fight me for that, but these are definitely some of the most beautiful arts I've ever seen in the game. The art on these cards are just beautiful. I love the Japanese theme and the lore that's behind these. These are, bar none, my favorite Marvels. I'm not usually a Marvel collector, for those that know. I personally prefer rainbow foils, specifically for my heroes, and I like cold foil equipment. Not a big fan of Marvels. But I will say, if or when the next Mystic Hero comes out, if these are still playable, I will definitely be playing these in my deck. The only Marvel that I'm still missing is Stir the Pot. I did have it when I initially opened up the part of the Mistveil product when it was first released. I did sell it without the intent of collecting it, but I'm regretting that decision, and I'll be going back in the market to look for the Stir the Pot to complete this beautiful collection. And for that, this easily makes number 5 for my list. At number 4, I have a 2-piece for my collection. The first one being this World Championship Ira from Osaka, Japan. Shout out to Simon, aka Scowling Flashbag, who raffled this up on his stream. Thank you, Simon. Along with the Japanese Ira exclusive from Osaka. So unfortunately, I was not able to go to Osaka, Japan, but I was able to obtain this card through a international seller who went to Osaka, and he was willing to sell me his Japanese Ira. This art is just phenomenal. This goes back to my interest in how the game has started. The game started with Ira, with the welcome decks, and also being a beautiful Japanese Ira art for Osaka Worlds. This is a card that I am currently using in my deck. I am currently playing Ira, and I love seeing this card every time I play the deck. It's a very beautiful hero with a very beautiful deck that just matches so well. This is a card I didn't think I was going to buy, but the more and more I build on my collection, the more I realized this was a card I just needed. And for the purposes of Ira starting the game to being the adult hero that served as the milestone for the 5th year anniversary, this has made the number 4 spot in my collection. At number 3, this is actually a picture that is going to have a card matching with it. This is the Waning Moon signed by Mark Poole frame, which was down here. It's double signed on the glass and on the image itself, along with a Mark Poole signed Waning Moon card on the top right. But this art is just beautiful. The Waning Moon signed card with the Mark Poole art both being signed, it's just an amazing piece of collection. The art was actually something I just recently got from a collection. This was actually one of the key pieces why I bought the collection. Thankfully, we were able to make a good deal. He was getting out of the game, but he was very happy to know what I was doing with this, so I think he was happy at the end to be able to part with this beautiful piece of art. This just tells a story of why collecting matters, and it's not always just the monetary value. This is something that's always going to be hanging on my wall. It's something that's going to have a very simple story, but it shows a piece of the soul of Flesh and Blood that exists in this frame. This will always be part of my collection, and for that, this easily makes number 3 in my list. At number 2, unfortunately, I don't have the card on me right now. It is currently getting graded, but with the power of technology, we just make it appear right there. That is a cold foil Great Library of Solana. Not only is the art beautiful, this one has a very special story. So, at the beginning of my Flesh and Blood journey, I was playing Magic the Gathering Commander at this time. I went to my local game store, and I don't recall what got me to buy the packs. Maybe it was a YouTube video that I looked at, or maybe I just decided to buy some random packs, and I saw first edition Monarch on the shelves. I decided to buy 3 packs, and in those 3 packs, the second pack in is when I opened this exact copy that's currently being graded of a cold foil Great Library of Solana. I definitely heard some really good stories about their big pool, their very first big pool. The fact that Great Library was my very first one is definitely one that I've cherished in my Flesh and Blood journey. And for that reason, the Great Library of Solana hopefully will come back as a grade 9, 9.5, or even a 10. Easily makes number 2 in my spot. Now, before we get to my number 1 on my list, I do have 2 honorable mentions. And it's not these specific cards, but I just wanted to hold the highest rarity for these 2 cards just because of my journey in Flesh and Blood. Starting off with Uzuri Switchblade. Uzuri was the very first hero I built on the paper deck, and it was a hero that I love to this day. Unfortunately, I am no longer building her, and I no longer have the playsets to build her because I've sold out of my Assassin playsets. But Uzuri is definitely the first hero that I've enjoyed for a very long time, and I'll still remember to this day when I used to build Nimblism Uzuri and remembering making the mistakes of swapping up my attacks and not carrying over Nimblism buff. Definitely something I learned throughout my journey in Flesh and Blood. On top of that is the second mention, which is Dorinthia. I decided to use the Japanese Dorinthia just because, once again, this is just a beautiful card identifying the beauty and journey that Flesh and Blood has gone through, especially during Worlds in Osaka. Midori was the very first hero that I brought not only just to a competitive event, but I think is the hero that I've had the most experience on, specifically Hachidori. I think Hachidori has built a strong fundamental in my Flesh and Blood gameplay, just with the simple vanilla numbers of Hachidori. It is a deck I definitely enjoyed, and it's definitely taught me that my smooth brain is a warrior player at heart. Anything more complicated than that seemed to not do so well. I'm looking at you, Gravy. For that reason, these 2 heroes will be in my personal Hall of Fame and will sit in my personal collection. And with this card easily being my number 1, not just because of the beauty of the card, but the story behind it and the meaning behind it. And I am talking about Yorick, Weaver of Tales. This isn't just a card. This is storytelling in its purest form. From the name to the lore to the rarity, Yorick is everything I love in this game. Heart, history, and hope. So, if you're not familiar with Yorick, not just from the beautiful Marvel side, but I'd like to bring your attention to the flavor text here, which is very important, and it reads,
"A story of legend is said to be told, the dawn of a new age a sight to behold. From all corners of Wraith, heroes they came. The common language they spoke was that of great games."
If you're not familiar with LS's mission statement, or if you go to their website and read their About Us, this is a translation to their mission statement. On their website it says, Legend Story Studios is a game design development and publishing studio based in Auckland, New Zealand. Our mission is to bring people together in the flesh and blood through the common language of playing great games. Sound familiar? Yorick or Weaver Tales. This card, when I read this card, it has kept me attached to this card and the meaning behind it. And it easily stays and will forever stay in my number 1 spot of my personal collectibles. So, there you have it. My top 10 Flesh and Blood collectibles. Whether it's the first card you've cracked, the chase card you've been looking for, or that gift from a friend that means way more than it should, there are pieces that weave our tales. I'd love to hear what's in your collection. Drop in the comments. What's your Yorick, your Marvel cheese, the one card you would never part with? Thank you for letting me share my collection with you. If you enjoyed the vibe, hit the like button, maybe subscribe, and as always, keep playing, keep collecting, and keep telling your story. This is Pockets. Until next time.